Tell me when you're live.
Yeah, we are live now.
Okay. Hello, I warmly welcome you to our 46th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. My name is Sabine Heinz and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series. On this 4th of September, I am delighted that you have come to join us. And our today's special guest is Chris Wade. He's a space artist and member of the IAAA. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Chris is talking today about, our topic is Ethereal, yeah, Ethereal geometry arts. I also would like to welcome Adriano Ottino. He's vice president of the FRI and our former president and founder of our organization. Welcome, Adriano.
Thank you very much, Sabine, and very welcome to all our people that follow us. And we'll be enjoying this lecture by Chris Wade this night.
We have to apologize if we start a little bit earlier because our guest has some other appointments, so we started a little bit earlier, but it will be recorded so you can see it. And welcome back after our summer break. And I will introduce shortly our guest, Chris Wade. Is a Rocket City native and is a sci-fi fantasy artist who describes his art as ethereal with a whimsical and dark surreal style, often pulling inspiration from the world he experiences in dreams. His work explores ethereal internal landscapes featuring abandoned space-age machinery presented in a dystopian yet dreamy aesthetic with the goal of evoking a childlike wonder and feeling of adventure in his works. He's also become known for his hilarious spacey pet portraits and the randomness of his wired creatures. He primarily works in acrylic ink and graphite, painting on watercolor, riveted sheet metal, and he is an award-winning published artist and a member of the International Association of Astronomical Artists. His work serves as commentary on our internal condition, both individually and collectively, as well as a rediscovery of our childlike nature and true potential. Chris, we are really, really happy that you are here, and we are looking forward to your presentation. I will share the screen. Oh, Adriano, yeah, good now. So, wait Moment.
But the matter.
Yeah, genau. So, and is it full screen now? Do we have oh God. Yeah, genau. Good. I have to go back. So. And I unmute myself and you can start and tell me when I have to go on with when I have to move the slides.
Okay, cool. All right, so I call my work, well, the series and my presentation of my work as shards of a liminal space age, also glimpses of a liminal space age, depending on what I have on display in the show. But anyway, go ahead and switch to the next slide. You there? Hello? Okay, there you are.
I did, but it doesn't move.
Oh, do you have a way to scroll through or hit an arrow key to go next?
Warte mal.
Just click on that. Click on that, and it will go.
So,
There you go.
so.
Awesome. Okay, so most of my work, it is inspired by, as she said, dreams, and it's inspired mostly by the way I saw the world when I was a kid. So the things that awakened a sense of wonder in me when I was little, rockets, jets, all of it. So I'm just going to read this real quick. Much of my work is inspired by the fascination of seeing the world through a childlike perspective and a tale of adventures I want to experience. With my most current series, Evolution of a Dream, aka Glimpses of a Liminal Space Age, I follow. Sorry, I'm in a really loud place right now. I follow a progression that parallels my own experience, tracking the journey of finding healing from the past, as well as a deeper discovery of who I am, and a renewed sense of innocence and fascination with life. The series centers around rockets as a symbol of one's dreams and purpose, and the trees that grow through the rockets are the unresolved issues in one's life that have the potential to halt progress. Thinking back to the way I thought as a child, I started at a place of detriment, and from there, I explored the possibilities of what could be made from these ruined rockets, resulting in dreamlike cities where people could live, or where the children we wish to be again can play. The latter part of the series explores the theme of realizing dreams waiting to be discovered. So that's a very wordy attempt at saying what the series is about. Go ahead and switch to the next page. For the next slide.
I'm trying, but I have problems here. I don't know why it is not doing this.
Just click on the slide. It will go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. So sorry, people driving past with loud cars, and it's very distracting. So failure to launch is the first stage of the series. That's where the series started, and it started with simply a rocket with a tree through it. It was a Saturn I Block 2 from the Space Center in Huntsville. And when I was a kid, that rocket used to blink with Christmas lights hanging from it every year. And it imprinted in my memory as just something that amazed me, fascinated me. So I started the work with this particular rocket for a reason. And it simply has a twisted tree growing through it as a representation of all the things we internalized, the things that happened to me as a kid that I never got healing from, and what it eventually grows into when you don't deal with, when you don't properly deal with trauma. And so a conversation with my art professor, she said, why don't you do a couple works of art that would represent how your upbringing affected you? So I did a sketch of a rocket with a tree through it and realized, oh my God, that's exactly what she was telling me to do. But as the series has progressed, it has also come to take in a few other meanings, such as instead of the rocket being our dreams and purpose and who we want it to be, and the tree being the internalized trauma or the lies we believed about ourselves because of things spoken to us as kids, false self-image, all those things, a false sense of worth or worthlessness. It eventually started to take other meaning, where the tree was the more intuitive living side of us, and the rocket was either the analytical side of us, or the rocket represented the preconceived ideas of who we thought we were supposed to be based on our upbringing. I grew up in a really, I grew up in church, as many people did, and we, it influenced my sense of my identity, my sense of who I was supposed to be, not really giving me much of a choice to just experience life and enjoy it. And so part of the series became a sense of casting off other people's preconceived ideas or other people's expectations of who we are. And so I have on this slide about how the combination of the rocket and the tree can represent the dualities of intuitive versus analytical, the dreaming versus the fearful, the religious versus the spiritual. And but yeah, I was having all these dreams of abandoned rockets. When I would find them, sometimes it felt like rediscovering some amazing. Occasionally it would be a dream of, well, one dream, it was a dream of finding people rebuilding the space shuttle in a clearing in the woods. And there were other dreams where there were rockets waiting for me to, like, almost summoning me to come on an adventure, but I had to figure out how to get past those obstacles that were in the way. So that's the kind of dreams I had that inspired the work. You can go ahead and click to the next slide. So here we got Sleeping Beauty, In a Twist, and Stuck. Those are some of the very first ones I did. Sleeping Beauty involves feelings of entrapment. In a Twist involves feeling tangled up in your own confusion and the issues that you never could get past. And Stuck was a sense of a feeling of living in a creative desert, in a sense, because I live in the Rocket City. It's an engineer city, but the people in my hometown are not like me. There's a very small percentage of us are creatives, and most creatives have forgotten the creative nature to go to school to be a rocket scientist and get a job in engineering. And so culturally, where I live just doesn't feel like a thriving area for art, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of frustration I was feeling when I did these early ones. Go ahead and switch to the next one. Hello.
Hello.
Next slide,
Okay.
or
Yeah, next slide.
Okay. We started already, Bernard. Maybe you can switch off your camera. Yeah, we had to start earlier. Sorry.
Okay, no, I noted 7:30. So, okay, welcome.
This is some of my more recent work, or at least the one on the left is called Pedestal. The one in the middle was done in 2016. That one's called Tree Minus, showing feelings of exhaustion with the fuel tank being grown through. The one on the right is called Union, which is what Soyuz means in the English. So you see a kind of a drastic difference in the style between the one in the middle versus the one on the left and the right. But it's all part of that feeling, these feelings of isolation and of what's growing through us. The one on the left, called Pedestal, kind of represents the isolation. And in my work, I also express the isolation, but also how what am I trying to say? I express these themes of isolation in my work, but there's also a sense of feeling left behind because you're stuck in this tree, or that you've stuck with this tree anchoring you to the ground while others have moved on. And it's a feeling I have struggled with my entire life. And, so a lot of my work does tend to express abandonment issues that I was dealing with. And so you see the isolation in my work, but at the same time, it makes for a sense of beautiful minimalism. One on the right called Union. The tree is more of the living thing, and the rocket is more of the cocoon that's being eventually going to be cast off by the tree. But at the same time, it's a bit ambiguous as to which is which, which part is me, or maybe I am the combination of the two. I don't know. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. And here we have one that I dreamed. I called this one Separation Anxiety. And so as I was falling asleep to take a nap after work one day, I saw this in my mind and I had to paint it. Here we see a Saturn 1B separated, the separation of stages. But to me, it's a sense of letting go and how awkward and uncomfortable that can be. But at the same time, shedding the weight of the past in order to achieve upward momentum, even if it is, in an abandoned kind of feel to this thing. But next. So the next stage of the series I call Future of Rocketry, but I also kind of want to call it The Lost Boys, based on, Peter Pan and Neverland. And so this was one of the first ideas I had, was a rocket with a tree through it, but turned into a tree house. People returning to it, life returning to the rocket in a way, or a sense of, sure, you experienced abandonment and isolation, but it doesn't have to stay that way. So, I thought, if I were to, if in real life I could find a rocket, say if I was a kid again, we would invite my friends and we would be astronauts. We would dress up as, space rangers, and we would turn the thing into a treehouse. So the idea of the treehouse rocket is actually what sparked the whole series to begin with. And from there, I took it as therapy, and but it was also a sense of trying. It's like the journey was set before me, that of trying to go from this place of isolation back into a place of, it started from isolation and disillusionment and burnout, and then going back to a place of childlike wonder and re-experiencing what it was like to have that kind of innocent imagination. And so that's really the heart of what this series is about in general. But also you'll see in some of these a literal take on the term Rocket City. So, these represent the interconnectedness of all of us, despite our current state. So go ahead and go to the next one. So on the left, we have so these are two different versions of the same idea. The one on the left I call Swiss Family Rocketson, and the one on the right I call High Water. But that one also is going to retroactively probably be named The Lost Boys. We see rockets from all over the place, and you see that there's bridges going across, and there's people in the water, there's platforms, and the one on the left, it was originally done in 2016 in black and white, but I eventually I eventually colored it, like added color to it, and I actually really love how it turned out. But it was a feeling of taking this abandoned rocket and making something really fun out of it, and making it into a place that if we were kids again, we would definitely want to live there and explore. And you know what I'm saying? So go ahead and go to the next one. On the left, we have Squirrel's Eye View. This one is a perspective drawing, kind of a warped, almost fisheye lens perspective. And I actually put myself in this painting. But this one it's kind of like perspective is kind of the theme. The way you choose to look at life, the way you choose to see things, kind of determines where you go. On the one on the right is called Let's Climb a Tree. And that was actually one of the very first ideas I had. Like the sketch that started the series was one, it was actually of that one before I started the Failure to Launch series. So here we see people climbing up in the top and platforms built. We also see kids swinging at the bottom. So with this series, it was more of we leave from the isolation and we go to a place of childlike wonder, playing again and experiencing just life returning, if that makes sense. Kind of in the same way of like experiencing the wildlife coming back into the yard after the wintertime. And anyway, next. Oh, also note that the one on the right in Let's Climb a Tree, that was the Saturn 1B that inspired the whole series. It's the same rocket that's in the separation anxiety painting. So here is a series called After the Moon. It involves this kid with his homemade spacesuit, and in most of them he's discovering a rocket somewhere, or and he's in his homemade spacesuit, and in a lot of them he's got a friend with him. And this particular one is called Terraform. It's on Mars. So I kind of describe these as internal landscapes where it's a look at our internal condition. So this one, it's a feeling of life returning. So go ahead and go to the next one. These are the first ones in the After the Moon series. The kid in his homemade spacesuit. In one of them, two of them, he's got a toy space dog. One of them, he's got a real dog. But it's going back to that feeling of, and this was also one of the first ideas I had in the series. Sorry, someone's driving through with a really loud truck. And I'm really impressed by how loud their truck is. But anyway, really cool guy. I want to be like him. Anyway, so one of the very first ideas I had in the series was the idea of being that kid finding the rocket in the woods. And so the one on the left is called The Astronaut. The one on go back. But yeah, one on the right is called Close to Home. And it's a feeling of something hit close to home, and but also searching for that place of belonging. You also see two kids in that one. So I described the two kids as being the younger, more innocent, dreaming, excited version of me, and then the older one being the more experienced, damaged, the one that experienced the brokenness. And so like if those two could team up and make heads or tails, make sense of what we became, if that makes any sense. And the one in the middle just expresses wide-eyed excitement and wonder. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So here on the left, we have what I call Sea of Vapors, and it's named after a place on the moon. But there's those two kids, and they discover this Saturn V sticking out of the water, and their idea is to go to the top of that rocket. And in the next one that I started painting, which I really gotta finish it eventually, but it shows the two of them on top of that rocket with a telescope looking at the moon, and it's called Treetop Observatory. But the one in the middle is called Conquest. It's of a little girl in her homemade spacesuit looking out over the ocean with a SLS sticking out of the water. So it's about kind of figuring out, it's about making sense of what happened and deciding to make something beautiful out of it. And that one's to me, the most introspective one. Go ahead and go to the next. So Tree of Knowledge is a kind of an outlier in the sense that it doesn't exactly follow the rocket theme, but it involves space probes, delves into different aspects of humanity. So, I know at the bottom I put the themes include isolation, love, freedom to dream, but also the themes kind of explore the idea of how knowledge can empower us or also destroy us or be a stumbling block. So switch to the next slide. So on the one in the middle is the very first one in this series. I call it Luna C. It's a Luna 2 space probe floating in the water with stars falling into the water around it. And I literally had no meaning or theme to it other than it was just a really cool concept that I wanted to paint. And then that kind of became the theme. It's just the freedom to create and be who I want to be, regardless of having to have a rhyme or reason to it, without having to assign a specific meaning to it, without having to have everything figured out and categorized, as I tend to always have to do. The one on the left is called Icarus, and that one I feel is the most emotional to me out of that series, because it's the same Luna 2 probe, but it's melting in its pursuit of the moon, of its pursuit of the target. And to me, that represents this feeling of chasing after something unattainable, and kind of coming apart in a way over, in the same way that you melt over someone you love. Well, this space probe is just melting in its pursuit of a dream, of a the same way of like getting too close to the sun, the wax melted on Icarus's wings. And but anyway, next one. So the one on the right is called Reach Beyond the Horizon. That one is hanging up at Lowell Observatory, and it shows the New Horizons probe with a tree growing out of it. It's a very luminous tree reaching towards Pluto. And so this series, Tree of Knowledge, until I find a better name for it anyway, it to me, it really represents the freedom to dream, and of reaching towards that thing we cannot describe, but it's in us to go for it, but we can't even describe what it is we're looking for, if that makes sense. Go ahead and go to the next. The one on the left is called TMI, stands for too much information. That is a Galileo probe, and it's got this white tree growing through it. To me, that one was a sense of saying, I've seen too much, and I don't know what to do with what I now know. I don't know how to sort what's true versus what's not. And it's a sense of I'm trying to separate the truth from fiction. The things that I've been taught growing up, the things that I've been told I had to believe, versus the things that I've seen, So over here in the middle, we have the one in the middle and the one on the right. The one on the right is a digital sketch, whereas the one in the middle is painted in acrylic. But two ideas in the same series with nuclear bombs. We got the fat man and the little boy. One in the middle is called the Tree of Half-Life. And the one on the right is called Meltdown. But to me, these are about the power and potential we have within us. Go ahead and go to the next. I was at the end?
I guess it is the end.
All right. Well, cool. I guess that leaves us time for some questions.
Yeah,
I could talk on and on about the series, but really, when it comes down to it, it has come to mean something completely different to me than it did in the beginning of the series. The beginning of the series, it was all about things internalized that destroy us, whereas in the end, it's about finding identity apart from what others have imposed on you. And but really, you can find so many different meanings to it. And the work is not about what I say it's about. The work is about how it speaks to you individually. So yeah, I got time for some questions.
I thank you so much for this lecture, and you put your heart on the market, because it's so deep, and we talked about this a little bit before, and I'm impressed by your colors, the choice of your colors, your color palette, and the variety.
I'm a bit colorblind.
Yes, I know this, but that makes it so fantastic. I love your color palette, and you know it for sure. And but it left me also a bit, yeah. But I have chosen this picture, what I bought from you, because these feelings, I can understand it so well, and I'm really touched now. I would like to present Bernard Freund. He's our president, and welcome. I guess you have some questions, Bernard.
Yes, thank you very much. I was also very impressed by the depths of the introspection, but also the expansion of mind, and as well the visual creativity. But I have a question. So, are you inspired by the theme of space renaissance? So, how would you express space renaissance? And you could also try to build a series about space renaissance, also to connect with some of the ideals, or some of the positive projections that we do about the future of humanity in space and by space. So what about space renaissance?
To me, it's not about space travel. It's about what space travel represents in my work, and to me, it's a lot more symbolic. It's not about literal space travel. I often tell I often tell people my work is not about rockets. My work is about, my work uses rockets as a symbol to represent something deeper. And, whether that's freedom or whether that's a return to childlike dreaming. So in terms of space renaissance, as I understand it, the way I'd relate my work to it is a sense of inspiring people to look to the stars again, inspire people to dream again. Because I always saw looking at the stars not as I want to go there, but I always saw looking at the stars in a sense of I'm dreaming for what I cannot describe. I am wanting to achieve and go places that I cannot describe, places I don't know if they even exist. A sense of, I believe there was a German word that C.S. Lewis talked about called Sehnsucht, which means, from what I understood, it meant a longing for a place that does not exist, a longing to go back to somewhere you've never been. And I think it's in our nature to dream, to look at the stars, to see the open sky, and to see how small we are, and at least how small we are on the outside. But I do believe that seeing the sky, seeing the open sky, it's like looking in a mirror and seeing how big and limitless we actually are within. And so, to get to your point, in regards to my work, I think it means, it looks like he left.
Yes, he was pushed out maybe, but go on. He will hear.
Yeah, in regards to his question, what space renaissance means with my work, I would say it's about getting back in touch with that deeper, creative, limitless ocean within us and dreaming from that place. And not necessarily about a space program, even though that space program to me is highly symbolic and highly inspiring to create my art. It's like the two go hand in hand. I'm thinking of it from a very abstract and childlike imagination side of things, whereas we have an ambulance driving by.
Yeah, no problem.
I wouldn't say, I'm sorry, I wouldn't say abstract.
Yes.
I would.
He cannot hear us. He cannot hear us. Wait a moment. He cannot hear us.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Wait a moment. Because there are some...
I see that he muted. It means that he's having a big noise.
Yes.
In his environmental.
So, no.
Okay. Now, I was saying that I wouldn't say abstract. I think you invented space surrealism. I think your painting is more similar to surreal.
Wait.
Can you listen to me?
He cannot hear us. Moment.
Okay.
All right, can you try that again? No, maybe
Okay.
the third time you attempt to say it.
I tell you again. I was thinking that your style is more similar to surrealism than to abstractism. So maybe you invented a new style that is the space surrealism.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was very impressed by your pictures, and I think that you communicate emotions more than concepts.
Right.
But however, after feeling the emotions, one could think about some concepts. And I think that a concept that is present in your painting is that we are children of the earth biome, of the nature of our planet, mother planet. And that everything we do, everything we build, even the most advanced technologies are part of this nature. And nature will do what it like with everything we make. So I think this is a concept, the philosophical concept, a very important concept, and it expresses that wherever we will go, we will never cut the link with the earthly biome.
Right.
Earthly biome will come with us. And I think this is a space renaissance concept that we are bringing ahead, and we are developing in several initiatives that we make and so on. And it is wonderful that it can be represented by art, because art is the highest communication mean. Art touches the heart directly without the mediation of the brain. It goes directly here, and only after some time you can think about and to think, what did I have seen? What have I seen? Okay, I try to understand what I have seen.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
What I also think is that the trees are symbolizing something very grounded. So, and it's like they are holding the rocket from going into space. Yeah, but I really like your art. I love it, really. Bernard, do you have some remark? Because our guest is supposed to leave in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay,
So he has a short timetable. Yeah.
Yes, I like your point about, longing about a place where we have not been. But on the end, it looks like you have this vision that, in fact, we have been there already. Because what science tells us now, that Earth is part of space, life was built with ingredients that came from space, from the Big Bang to hydrogen, star stuff. But what I like also is what you say, we start to see ourselves in the universe. Because in fact, the universe already has brought life, has brought conditions that allowed, for instance, intelligence to emerge, even art to emerge. So it looks like you have this, this imagination that is in fact in accordance with what science tells us. That for the first time in the history of the universe, you have a body that looks back at the past of the universe, and we bring our imagination. So I wanted to ask you to comment. Do you see also inspiration from the science and the study of the universe, not only traveling with rockets there, but also what we have learned from the universe, from science?
Oh, well, I'm fascinated with astronomy, and I'm fascinated with just anything involving space and anything involving rocket science in general. It's one of the main things that inspires me, but it serves as a really good source of inspiration for the artwork that serves as a vehicle for the theme I'm trying to, or the theme that I cannot help but express in my work. So yeah, the science and space, it's all inspiration for what is inevitably going to come out in my art. So yeah, that's how I would describe that.
So amazing how you bridge this, how you get this inspiration and you give it back. So flow back to the universe and to others.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
We thank you so much for being here, Chris, and hope next time we can organize something with some artists together, and yeah, then we can have an interchange of artworks, of opinions, and a nice discussion.
Yeah.
We are planning this maybe for next year. This year is
Really
almost
cool.
done. Thank you so
So
much
just one
for being
thing,
here with
sorry.
us.
Sorry,
So
Sabine, just one scoop. We have built a moon base in Padova Botanical Garden today. And so it's open to the public. Please come to Padova. It's in collaboration with Space Renaissance. And we are even going to show some pieces of art that we have brought to the moon with Art Moon Mars, Moon Gallery. We never forget art as a way to communicate with humanity. So come to Padova, and then we will have it in south of Italy. We'll have it in Paris, first week of October, and then in the Netherlands. So we'll have our little moon base, also with astronaut and all like research and art in this moon base.
Send that to me in a
Thank you.
message.
Yeah, excellent.
And last
Thank
suggestion and invitation. Chris, maybe you know that we are carrying ahead the proposal that is the 18 SDG, 18 Sustainable Development Goal, to be added to the 2030 United Nations agenda. So we are doing this proposal together with the National Space Society and 52 organizations, space activist organization, you know. We are thinking about an art context to get pictures to support this campaign for an 18 SDG. So if you like to be in the loop, we will invite you to join our art chapter that is discussing and developing this.
I love that. Sounds awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Space for all.
Excellent.
Art gallery.
Okay.
Just send me messages about it.
Yes, we will
Right.
write you.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much. You are in a hurry. We let you go. Thank you for being with us. And our next activities will be the webinar on the 18th of September with Peter Weiss, Spartan Space Inflatable Habitats for the Moon and Mars. And on the 15th of November, there will be a panel by Adriano about our UN resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
I wish you a nice
À la
evening.
fin.